Good morning, people. So, I'm still working on this thing, trying to figure out what's wrong with it. So the causing problem of the effing Sprinter van, it smoked very, very bad. If you start it up in the morning, you let it idle for 5 minutes and then you take off. I mean, it just rolls coal, just smoking white, bluish, stinks terrible. You almost cannot stand it to sit inside. And then same thing, even the vehicle, when after it warms up and you sit on a traffic light, let's say for a couple minutes, and then you take off and it will smoke again real bad from exhaust. And it would run rough. So I have a tuner for it. I lost it. Washer. I have a tuner for it. So my EGR valve's eliminated. My DPF is still there. So I put it back in the stock and it would run weird. So I changed a bunch of sensors, whatever, I tried to do it. And the last thing I actually thought of it was injectors. The reason I come out to the conclusion of injectors, because I'm like, hold on a second. If this thing sits for 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever, to an hour, it takes whatever to crank it. I'm like, it's gotta be injector dripping. And then when it's idling, one of the injectors is streaming, dripping nonstop, and that's what creates smoke, gets built up in DPF, and then when you take off, it's trying to reburn itself. So there's my old injectors. I took one apart just for the hell of it, and they all come off with no issues whatsoever. As you can see, some of them missing O-rings. I will explain why. Here's the old washers. There's my new washers, all kind of different sizes. And some I reused it, some I put new. They are absolute nightmare to reseal these damn things. So my biggest problem was with this injector, which is number, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Injector number 5. So I pulled that one out, resealed it, put a new washer on it, pull it out again, fix that problem. Then I'm start having an issue. It's hard to get over there. Issue with this return lines. And me, cheap enough, I mean real cheap, I don't want to go buy new O-rings. Since I have so many of them, I will try to make it work. That's why I stole this O-rings. So the biggest deal, is this washers. And I dealt with this before. I changed them on the GL2. Sometimes you have to reuse old washers, whatever you want to call them. And the key is to success to install the injectors on a 3.0 Mercedes, to have a brush. So you need to get in down in the bore and clean it out. And this brush didn't work, so I made a hand brush. I made a Scotch pad like this, wrapped around screwdriver, which is this right here. And this works pretty well. You can get in there and clean it out. I don't know how true it is. So this broke off. Right here, this number, that's your injector cal codes. And the injectors I got from a junkyard. For some reason, my ECM doesn't want to take it besides one. So screw it, no big deal. What did I do for the injectors? I bought used injectors with the rails, lines, all the sensors, everything. It cost me $200. The guy who sold it to me, he says it has 200,000 miles. Sounds like it runs really good. So I installed them. I had an absolute nightmare once again to come on, phone, to seal them, but I got it done. And now the only codes I have is TDC present and TCM, which for the engine overspeed. But then I look on the data. This is fairly important, which I could not find. So it goes by bars, so it's 257, 260, and then we have current injector quantity. So we want that quantity be lowest as possible. That means the injectors working very efficient. As far as I understand, maybe I'm not correct. But that number's got to be in the single digits, which is 9.7, or you want to be under 10. That means none of the injectors is streaming. And then the pressure control valve at 16, which is normal. And this rail pressure, it's in a bar, so it's about 4,500 psi, 42, 44. And then when we rev it up, it goes almost to 10,000. So that's about 14,000 psi, which is normal. Obviously, GL will have a pressures a little bit higher due to higher horsepower, and this one would be lower if I would take that tuner off. But right here, so our pressure is 316, and our quantity is actually went down to 8. And right now we'll change, so it dropped down to 257, and it's 8.7. So they equal itself out. So when you rev it up, it goes to almost 10,000. You will keep the rail pressure high for a little bit, seems like it. And then the engine, when idle, it will change the tune, and this pressure will go down and will run much better. So I'm thinking I need to change rail pressure regulator, which is this thing right here, which it came from a junkyard. Or I can just stick the whole entire rail in it, and that would be the ideal. So if you do have problem with hard starting and excessive smoke when you take off, or it starts stinking inside really bad, considering replacing injectors. If your van has low miles, let's say under 300,000 miles, I would just buy a reman ones or buy a brand new ones. For me, I have 550,000 miles or 540, something like that. I decided just buy the used one because I didn't want to spend that kind of money, because next thing you know, my transmission will go out. Knock on wood, but anything can happen. So that's why I try to minimize my spending on this vehicle. But it's very interesting how the data is completely different. There's some values in PSI and some values in bars, and then KBAs and HUB. A lot of them I don't even understand where they like mean. I have to actually go in and Google and find the spread to change the bars to do PSI, if it makes sense. So, and then my particulate filter, since I put injectors and I did a regen a few times, the most important number I was concerned about, that one 3.0, so that's 3 grams of soot we have so far. And then the exhaust differential pressure. So way that works, your DPF filter has line goes in the back of the DPF filter, which is where coming out, and the one coming in, and they see what the difference is. That's how they can tell if we have plugged up DPF. So you want that number being a 0 point whatever. Like, you don't want to go to 1, because that would be a huge difference. So at idle we got 0.07, and then when I rev it up, it goes to like 0.6, let's say. And then when you're under the load, obviously it will go up because you're moving more air through it. So all my numbers looks good. Obviously I have a check engine light on. The check engine light on is for amber temperature sensor, which is for the outside temp, and then TDC present store, and then glow plug number 1. I know it's fairly important to fix a glow plug. A lot of people say they will not start if the glow plug is bad. I don't know, start just fine. When it gets really cold, guess what I got? I got a glow plug in the can. Give it a little pop and it goes. The reason I'm not replacing a glow plug in it, because this sucker broke off way inside there. So this part, I actually got a part, my glow plug is sheared off right there, and there's nothing sticking out. I don't know how I can get it out, but that's for some other day. But biggest thing about right now to reseal the injectors, because I'm coming back again, if this washer right here is not sealed, that's all what it's sealing your injector. Sits like that This washer goes on the bottom. If it bypasses right here, all this will carboned up, and then you will have absolute nightmare to take the injector off. And I've seen them so bad, the guys actually end up taking the head off because they will break the injector off inside somehow, trying to hammer with it, or break the head, and then pretty much your engine junk where you have to replace the head. And a way to check it, I'm not going to do it again, but let the vehicle idle, make some soapy water, and literally just keep spraying. Like on this side, for example, this galley, this hole right there, just fill that full of water and you will see if it's going to start bubbling. If it's very, very little and you can see like bubbles once in a while, that is normal because probably water gets in there and saturates it. And a little bit of carbon will actually seal itself up. But if you have like constantly bubbling, I would pull it out, reseal it, clean the bore out again, and try it again. It is nightmare. And then same thing with this return lines there, kind of problematic. So that's all I got. Thanks for watching all.